Lightning in a bottle. That's exactly what BigBear.ai feels like right now. This company just hit my radar in a big way, and honestly, I'm kicking myself for not paying attention sooner. We're talking about an AI defense contractor with 27 to 28% short interest, massive government contracts, and a partnership with freaking Palantir. Oh, and did I mention they're trading at a fraction of what similar companies are valued at? Let me back up for a second because this whole BigBear.ai story is pretty wild when you dig into it. So we've got this company that's basically doing AI-powered decision intelligence for the government and defense sector. Think Palantir's little brother, but with some serious potential to grow up fast. They're not just another AI startup throwing around buzzwords. These guys have real contracts with the Department of Defense, the U.S. Army, and they're expanding into commercial markets like manufacturing, warehousing, healthcare, and biotech. What really caught my attention is this massive short interest situation. 27 to 28% of the free float is being shorted. That's absolutely insane. For context, anything above 10% is considered high, and we're looking at nearly 30%. When I see numbers like that, my first thought is either the company is about to implode or we're sitting on a potential powder keg for a short squeeze. And honestly, after digging into their fundamentals, I'm leaning heavily toward the powder keg scenario. Here's what's been driving my excitement about BBAI lately. First, the AI boom is obviously lifting all boats in this sector, but Big Bear isn't just riding the wave. They're providing critical infrastructure for some of the most demanding customers in the world. When the U.S. military trusts your AI systems for force management and geopolitical risk analysis, that's not exactly a casual endorsement. I was looking through their contract list, and it's pretty impressive. They've got a 5-year, $165 million production contract with the U.S. Army for their Global Force Information Management System. That's not consulting work or some pilot program. That's production-level deployment of their technology. Plus, they're on the GSA OASIS Plus contract, which has no dollar limit and runs for 10 years. No dollar limit. That basically gives them a direct line to bid on federal contracts for the next decade. But here's where it gets really interesting. I mean, maybe a little controversial. Everyone keeps comparing Big Bear to Palantir, and while I get the comparison, I think people are missing the bigger picture. Yeah, Palantir is the established giant with the $400 billion market cap and all the hype, but Big Bear is like Palantir circa 2015, smaller, scrappier, and potentially way more room to run. Actually, let me tell you something that blew my mind. Big Bear and Palantir just announced a strategic partnership where they're integrating their products. Wait, what? The little guy is partnering with the big guy instead of getting crushed by them? That tells me Palantir sees something special in Big Bear's technology. You don't partner with competitors unless they bring something valuable to the table. This partnership thing keeps nagging at me because it's so unusual. Typically in tech, you either get acquired or you get destroyed by the bigger player. But here's Palantir, arguably the most dominant AI defense contractor, deciding to work with Big Bear instead of competing against them. That suggests Big Bear has some kind of technological edge or market position that even Palantir respects. The short squeeze potential is what initially got me interested, but the more I research this company, the more I'm convinced there's real substance here. Reddit traders are talking about gamma squeeze potential too, with increasing call option activity that could force market makers to buy more shares for hedging. I've seen this movie before with other highly shorted stocks, and when the stars align, the moves can be absolutely massive. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the valuation. While Palantir is trading at over 100x sales, Big Bear is sitting at a fraction of that multiple. Now, some of that discount is probably justified because they're smaller and less established. But if you believe in the AI defense market, and honestly, how can you not with everything happening geopolitically, then Big Bear looks pretty attractive as a potential value play. I keep coming back to this question. What happens when a small AI defense contractor with high short interest, solid government contracts, and a partnership with Palantir suddenly gets discovered by the broader market? Because right now it feels like most investors are still focused on the obvious plays like Palantir, Nvidia, and Microsoft, while Big Bear is flying under the radar radar. The commercial expansion story is another angle that has me intrigued. Right now, most of their revenue comes from government contracts, which is great for stability but limits growth potential. However, they're actively moving into manufacturing, logistics, healthcare, and biotech applications. If they can successfully translate their government AI expertise into commercial markets, the addressable market becomes exponentially larger. I was talking to a friend who works in defense contracting, and he made an interesting point about companies like BigBear. He said the hardest part isn't building AI technology, it's building AI technology that meets government security and reliability standards. Once you've proven you can do that, expanding into commercial markets is actually easier because the commercial standards are typically less stringent. That makes sense when you think about it. If your AI system is good enough for the Pentagon, it's probably good enough for a manufacturing plant or hospital system. The volatility is definitely something to consider, though. This stock can move 15 to 20% in a single day, which is both exciting and terrifying, depending on which side of the trade you're on. I've been watching the daily moves, and it's clear that BBAI attracts a lot of momentum traders and options players who can amplify price swings in both directions. What's interesting about the current setup is how several catalysts seem to be converging. You've got the broader AI boom driving sector interest, the high short interest creating squeeze potential, the Palantir partnership validating their technology, and ongoing government contract awards providing fundamental support. It's rare to see technical and fundamental factors align like this, but let's be real about the risks too, because this isn't a slam dunk investment. The company isn't consistently profitable yet, which means they're still in that growth versus profitability balancing act. The competition in AI is absolutely brutal, with tech giants throwing billions at R&D, and there's always the risk that government priorities could shift, affecting their core revenue stream. The dependence on government contracts is both a strength and a weakness. It provides stability and validates their technology, but it also means they're somewhat at the mercy of political and budgetary changes. Although honestly, given the current geopolitical climate and the emphasis on AI for national security, defense tech spending seems pretty secure for the foreseeable future. One thing that keeps bugging me is how under the radar this company still seems to be. I mean, we're talking about an AI defense contractor with major government contracts, a partnership with Palantir, and massive short interest, but it's not getting nearly the attention of other AI plays. That could be opportunity, or it could be a red flag that I'm missing something important. Actually, I think the timing might be perfect for a company like BigBear. The AI hype cycle has moved beyond just the obvious players. The short interest situation reminds me of some of the meme stock scenarios we've seen, but with one crucial difference: BigBear actually has legitimate business fundamentals backing it up. That combination of speculative interest and real value creation could be explosive if sentiment shifts. I've been trying to figure out what the fair value for this company should be, and honestly, it's tough because they're in such a unique position. If you compare them to other AI defense contractors, they look undervalued. If you compare them to broader AI companies, the valuation seems reasonable, but if you factor in the growth potential from commercial expansion and the partnership with Palantir, then things get really interesting. Looking ahead, I think we're going to see continued volatility as the market figures out how to value this company. The short squeeze potential adds a wild card element that could create some truly spectacular moves. But even without any squeeze scenarios, if BigBear can execute on their commercial expansion and leverage the Palantir partnership effectively, this could be a much bigger company in a few years. The defense AI market is still in its early innings, and companies that can establish themselves now could dominate for years to come. BigBear seems to be positioning themselves nicely for that future, assuming they can navigate the challenges of scaling and competing with much larger players. Honestly, this feels like one of those situations where you either get it or you don't. If you believe AI is transforming defense and that smaller, specialized players can carve out valuable niches, then BigBear looks compelling. If you think the tech giants will eventually dominate everything, then maybe not so much. But for me, the combination of solid fundamentals, partnership validation, short squeeze potential, and reasonable valuation makes this one of the more interesting AI plays I've seen lately. Sometimes the best opportunities are hiding in plain sight, and BigBear.ai feels like it might be one of those cases.